So previously using this code, we generated the graph over here. So here you can see we've got the x-axis and the y-axis, and you can see a line has been drawn over here. And this line has come as a result of the x values here and the y values here. So this is a very simple function. So this function over here belongs to the PLT, and this PLT is over here, and that comes from the pyplot module, which is part of the Matplotlib library in Python. And you can see here we define the x labels and the y labels. So what I want to show you is this is actually a module. So a module can have variables stored in it. This library here, you can see that we are not creating a class of this. So what we are doing is we are just using the function, and that function behind the scenes stores these values in a variable. So it creates the drawing surface that we see here, and those values are then shown in the graph. So by just calling the show function, it will display the graph. There's a couple of things that I want you to just understand here with the graph. When you hover over, you've got option to copy this. So by using the copy button over here, you can copy the graph. You can expand the image. So this will open it up in its own tab over here, and you can save the image. So if I click on the save image, you can see here, you can save it as a PNG file over here, and then save the plot image, and you can save it in any folder that you want. You can name your image over here, and if you want to cancel, you can click the cancel button. So as you can see, our graph has been generated, and these are some of the things that we can do with this graph. One thing that you may have noticed is when you click on this graph button over here, there are 3 versions of the graph, one over here, and one over here. This is because every time you click on this button over here, it adds a new graph. For example, what I've done is I've added some new values here. So I've added 20 and 12 there. And the reason for these new graphs is so it can store history. So you can see the new graph now has this values. If I go back to our graphs, you can see here that we now have a graph with a value of 20, whereas if I go to one of the previous ones, you can see that it had a value of 6. So the reason is so you can track the history of your graphs in a single place. So that's why it adds a new entry every time there is a graph over here and you click this graph button. So it saves the history automatically for you, and then you can save these graphs here to different formats. And for example, you can save them as PDF, PNG, SVG. So if I were to save them as PDF, and one thing that you may notice is this save as button only gives you the option to save it as a PNG file. But if you go in here, you can actually just get a secondary save button over here. And this save button actually behaves differently. So you can click save and it lets you save it as a PDF, PNG, or SVG. SVG is not actual SVG file. It will actually have just the PNG data in it. So it's not an actual SVG file that it saves. But PNG and PDF are available here. Whereas previously, by clicking this save button over here, you only get the PNG format.